You're ready.
Okay, I'm going to call to order the April 18th, 2024 meeting of the Harwich Conservation Commission. This is a hybrid meeting. Public may attend in person, in the room, can access the meeting on Channel 8 it is, the Harwich channel. Or you can log into the meeting remotely using a login information that can be found on the agenda, which is published on the Town of Harwich website, on the Conservation Department website, webpage. So we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item on the agenda is a request for an amendment to an order of conditions for 31 Shore Road, map 2, parcel B1-7, SE32-2430 for a coastal bank and dune stabilization.
Mr. Chair, the applicant wishes to withdraw his request to amend without prejudice. They're going to be doing the work permitted under the original amendment.
Okay, so we need,
Yeah, I will move that we allow the applicant for an amendment to the order of conditions for 31 Shore Road, map 2, parcel B1-7, SE32-2430, to withdraw his request for the amendment without prejudice.
Seconded.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0. The next item is a notice of intent for 0 Pleasant Lake Ave, map 100, parcel K4-3, SE32-2555 for a seasonal dock.
We received a letter from the Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program. The state has determined that this project will not have a take on any state-listed species and do not have any recommended conditions. I know Mr. O'Reilly, the representative for the applicant, is present if you have any questions, but I have no further questions or comments, and I would recommend approval.
Okay, does Mr. O'Reilly have anything to say?
No, thank you. Amy summed it up. We were really just waiting on the letter from the Natural Heritage folks to make sure there was no other conditions or issues.
Okay, questions or comments from commissioners? Sophia, Brad?
Nothing new.
No.
I have nothing. Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing nothing. Can we have a motion?
Yes, I will move that we approve the order of intent for 0 Pleasant Lake Avenue, map 100, parcel K4-3, SE32-2555.
Seconded.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Next item,
Thank you.
thank you, is a notice of intent for 3 Bluebird Lane, map 73, parcel H227 for landscape restoration. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Lindsay Strode from Cape Organics, representing the Randalls on 3 Bluebird Lane. You guys are going fast tonight. Sorry. Sorry. I'm assuming you've been out there. Amy and I have been out there a couple times. We've had an opportunity to walk through. I'm going to start with the fact that, you know, it's a developed lot right on the pond. The existing conditions, there's a semi-improved lawn that runs downhill right to Buck's Pond. There's also, if you're standing, I'm going to do most of my referencing, if you're standing on the deck looking at the pond, to your right or to the west, there's what I call a pre-DEP attempt to do some stabilization of a bank. And as we know, the pond level at Buck's Pond goes up and down over the years. Sometimes it's just incredibly full, other times it's incredibly empty. It's just during some of those fuller times, and again with the exposure being from the southwest, there was an attempt at one point to do some stabilization. There were some rocks or some rubble that was put along that right-hand or western property bound edge right along the pond. That started to fail, so they threw some mortar at it, had some invasive plants grow into it, and it's still continuing to degrade. Our plan is to go in there and remove all of that rubble, the concrete, the invasive plant material, anything else that's just not appropriate in that location, regrade that bank a little bit to a more stable angle of repose. Invasive plant material will come out at that time. We put something as a core fiber roll at the bottom, just as an anchor buried, and then bring some coir matting up to a place above the top of the slope, stabilizing that, and then replanting that whole area. And I'm just going to continue to outline, again, you're standing on the deck looking at the pond. Directly in front of you is their beach area, but there's also a probably pre-DEP structure there. It's a cement wall that's approximately 18 to 24 inches high, runs pretty much the length of the open area there. That also is destined to, it's failing, it's cracked, and it's starting to move. That also is going to be taken out. We're going to be removing that. Similarly, we don't need to grade that area as much, but we will stabilize the area. Through the matting, we'd be planting, we'd be securing the area with native plants as outlined in the plan. At the same time, if you were out there, I had flagged the edge of the lawn removal. We're going to be removing, again, as you're standing on the deck looking at the pond, immediately in front of you, we're bringing that lawn back significantly. It shows there's going to be about an 800 to 1,000 square foot of lawn removal from the edge of the pond to create a spot that we can, again, do some nice transitional planting. And then also, again, standing on the deck looking at the pond, to the left, there's an eroding path. We're going to redo the path as well. Probably put in again, erosion control mat, some plant material, and some smaller, just regrade that spot and kind of make it undulate a little bit to the left and the right as we go down towards the water to keep it from being just a straight flush. The whole portion of that back side of the house, the eastern side, again to your left as you're looking at the pond, slopes right into that spot. As you are, again, standing on the deck looking at the pond all the way back to your left, that left northeastern corner, there are several dead arborvitae, a dead pine tree, and there's a large 20-inch diameter pine that is precariously pitch pine placed above the garage and the house. That is also destined for removal. The existing lawn, the remaining existing lawn would be improved to a point where it would be stable, secure, and create a good filter, a good cover to the buffer zone above the area that we have removed plant material from. I I don't expect any, once this is done, even as soon as it's done, I don't expect any kind of deconsolidation, any kind of erosion, sedimentation. It's been our practice to tie it up pretty tightly with no impact to the resource area. The remaining plant material around the, again, as you're standing on the deck looking at the pond, immediately in front of you, to your left, and then to the right, working back towards the driveway, all of that material is going to come out and be replaced with native plants or cultivars of native plants. Right now, it's just ivy and non-native species that are proving to be somewhat problematic. I think that's it. If there's anything that I remember before we leave, I will be happy to add some more highlights.
Thank you. Amy?
This is a purely beneficial project. So they're moving about 400 square feet of deteriorating wall right along the edge of the pond and stabilizing it, removing some invasives, removing lawn, planting back with all natives. Even the foundation kind of plantings around the deck would be native, whereas they're not now. They do have a runoff issue now from the lot to the pond, and that would be fixed with more substantial plantings and a better, more native grass base. One question I have, and I didn't think of it literally until now when I looked at the plan again. Once you go, this is the property line, is this little portion of wall, is that on association land, and is that staying?
That, I'll be honest with you, I'm not for sure. I don't think it is. I think it was just represented as the 400 square feet when I met with Moran, Dan. We just talked about this was the area that was coming out. I don't think there's that little tail that is,
So I'm sure, I mean, if the commission was amenable, if there is a tail that's actually on association property, to tie, it makes sense to take the whole thing out. The association would be willing to have that done. We could do that probably administratively. It's just a tiny little piece of it that would complete the puzzle, so.
through the chair, anything that is there that's part of the old concrete block is gonna come out regardless of where it is.
Okay.
And it's ironic, I mean, I don't mean to open a can of worms for anybody, but you can see where the property line is. It looks as though there's already some, you see the existing fence.
Yeah.
That dark property line is significant, and I'm not for sure if that's,
Right.
I don't know where that lands on site.
Okay.
But to your point, any of the material that was previously utilized to try and stabilize that will come out.
Okay, anything more?
I would recommend approval as presented.
Thank you. Jim?
Yeah, just to follow up on what Amy said, if that little tail is not on your client's property, do you have to go and then get approval? Don't you have to get approval from whoever owns that piece of property, be it the association or another landowner, in order to do work on that property?
This is an easement to that, to the beach, right at that, coming off the road, there is a set of steps. So I think there is an association of, I don't know, I would have to make
Yeah,
some.
I would just recommend that
I know them very well.
you talk with the association and, get permission before you proceed with that little
Sure.
part of it.
Certainly.
That was all I had, John.
Thank you.
No comments.
Sophia?
I have no concerns. It looks great.
I have nothing. Any questions or comments from the public?
Okay, hearing none, I will move that we approve the notice of intent for 3 Bluebird Lane, map 73, parcel H227.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lindsay, if you have the, tomorrow, if you could bring in the green cards. Okay. So- Oh, good. Sorry, wasn't right on top.
Okay,
See you tomorrow.
next item is a notice of intent for 141 Bank Street, map 23, parcel R5 for the construction of a 2-car garage.
It's the party parents.
Okay, well,
I don't know if we can use that or that up there.
please state your names for the record.
Yeah, Garrett Curran. Dave Crispin with the BST Group, civil engineer and land surveyor.
And Molly Malone.
Great, thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you. Nice to be here tonight. Little over a year ago, we came in and talked to Amy about this, and we talked to a lot of other people about this garage. Because you had, during COVID, learned that working in his little, small, cramped quarters with the growing family, it'd be nice to build a garage and put a small office space over it. So that is the plan, is to build a 2-car garage with an office space over it. We've got your 50-foot setback and 60-foot setback to deal with to the coastal bank. And that is because the Cranberry Bog is land subject to coastal storm flowage, even though it surprises me because it's kind of so far from the coast, but it is. So that's been mapped, we know where it is. We've looked at the square footages under zoning and whatnot, and we have a garage that just fits in here. We've taken the entire rooftop of the building and recharged it, sized for the 100-year storm. So this is not gonna have any adverse stormwater impact. All the downspouts will go into this. When we initially put the plan together, the idea was to remove the shed and the clamshell driveway that is behind this, and we thought that would be adequate mitigation. And I was reminded, perhaps I was misinterpreting the way the bylaw is worded, that plantings would be much nicer. So that is the plan you have before you tonight. We've talked it over with the applicants as to how these plants work, and our thoughts were on the far side with that dark green area, which is what's in red on your plan there, would be the most appropriate, because it would create kind of a mass as opposed to a long string along the bog. So that's kind of why it's where it is. We spaced them at 10 feet on center because that's about how big they get. And by the time your children are out of high school, those will be big bushes. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
And one thing to say too, I think I'm close enough to hear, but Amy, I know you've come over before and kind of looked at the property line. I think based on where our property line ends, which I believe my neighbor John has a right of way behind the cottage area that goes, so there's what looks like a piece of grass and then there's some shrubbery that goes into the bank. That is not our land. So I want to make that clear that, we can't put the plantings all the way to the edge. We have a property line that we need to respect. And so I just wanted to bring that up as the board's attention.
But I'm totally willing to put plants back there as long as our neighbor agrees to it being on his property line.
Okay. They did supply a few photos, which I will pass
Because
around.
it's hard to tell if you were at the property, it looks
them
like, I think we own a little bit more than we do, so it can be confusing. So I put some pictures with my husband standing at kind of what the property line is with his
We can
hands
pass them
pointing
around. We
to what our property is. But I would love to put some native bushes along that line. I'm totally on board with that. I do want to just try and keep a good amount of grassy space for my 2.5 children to be able to play, soccer, baseball in our backyard, kind of behind where the garage is going to be,
Away from the street. if
away from the
possible.
street, which is kind of why I liked the idea of the bushes near the street to create a little bit of a buffer zone so they're not running into the street.
Okay, thank you.
That's kind of it in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me, Amy?
Thank you. So, I remember going out to the site with you, about a year ago and looking at this, and I was wondering, I'm like, when is this coming? It must be coming soon.
I know. Dragging our feet, lots of children.
No, it's fine. I was, but I remember that day coming out. So correct in that removal of the shed does count, and that was deducted off your total. Removal of kind of a shell driveway, the commission in the past hasn't equated, a shell driveway to a new building. So that's why I had said, just removing of the shell is good, but it's not really mitigation for construction of a new structure. So, and that's why I directed Dave and you to look at some planting mitigation. And then I'm aware of the road and the easement behind the property, that goes to the old bog back there, which are going to be, starting to be altered a little bit by the Harwich Conservation Trust. And my thought, and what the commission typically likes to see, which is why I mentioned it, is creating kind of more contiguous habitat. That's going to be a natural area back there, creating a buffer to that, that's more extensive possible than there is now. That would be what I would say would be a first priority in terms of location. The plantings that you've shown are, we like to see actually nice, big, robust choices of shrubs like you've chosen. We normally see smaller things. But as far as what it lends to improvement of the resource area, I didn't see it as really improving the resource and the interests of the resource in terms of habitat. So having kind of, you have an extensive frontage, I'm not saying you can't do anything
Yeah.
over where you've shown,
Sure.
but my suggestion is along your property line, not on the easement,
Yes.
doing some of the native plantings at least over there as well. And then, I'd be very receptive to that and likely look favorably upon it. The garage, will also be, there'll be a little bit of fill added, less than a foot of fill, roughly half a foot of fill added to get it outside the flood zone. And then,
That's more of a flood insurance value than anything.
yeah,
Once you're above the floodplain, your rates change dramatically.
yes, they do.
The main part, like our house is outside of the floodplain, so it doesn't need that level of insurance, but
Yeah.
anything on
Right.
that part would.
So really my only comments is where we place some of the plants, and
Okay.
should the commission agree and want to put more of them towards the property line in the back there, I would certainly, and I understand it's a nice view out going back there too. It doesn't have to be the same exact variety that you're showing here, which tend to be big, tall, robust plants. You could, in my mind, go with small to medium in the back there, okay?
And I guess in lieu, or in continuing the conversation with, I know HCT is looking at doing some things. I don't
Yep.
know fully what that looks like.
Yep.
So if John, who has the easement, I think, right away,
Mhm.
plus the HCT, if
Mhm.
they feel that they want some help to connect those things,
Yep.
more than happy to explore that conversation.
Great.
too.
To my knowledge, all that they're planning on doing back there is kind of overturning the old bog to kind of break up the old cranberry mat and let the native seed that is there manifest, to
Okay.
my knowledge. But that's certainly a conversation to have with HCT.
Cool.
All set?
I'm all set.
Thank you. Sophia?
Sure, I just had one thought about underneath the shrubs, and sort of along the same lines of Amy, is like picturing how that would sort of create some habitat. So my question was if there was any plantings underneath in terms of seeds, or was it just gonna be mulch? Was there?
Whatever you guys want us to do.
Yeah.
Very open. That area wouldn't be a place where like my kids would be, it would almost be like a barrier in my mind. So anything to keep the kids out.
In the idea of minimizing the disturbance, I was planning on just letting it emerge by itself.
Yeah.
If it's not mowed, you give it 5 or 10 years and you'll have other stuff growing in there, as long as it's not invasives that you have to deal
Yeah,
with.
it might be a good idea to seed it with some like
yeah.
fescue, some, you know, some sturdy little native grasses that you won't have to mow or anything like that, but
Yes.
will hold the moisture in and provide a little chat and stuff. But other than that, looks good to me.
We can dig some ditches and lay some seeds, so you just tell us what to do.
Sprinkle them and walk away.
Yeah, you don't need to do, no digging.
Okay.
No comments?
The only comment I have sort of takes off on what Amy said, but I think it would be helpful if you could have as you had mentioned, have the discussions with the holder of the easement to see whether or not some of the mitigation could go in the easement area. I know they would have to approve doing
Yeah.
that, but I think that would be helpful if you could do that.
So he happens to be behind me.
So John is here.
Oh,
and-
okay.
So, yeah. So, I don't know ultimately how that works.
We'll
but-
give John a chance to speak in a moment. My questions may be more directed at John than, first of all, you done, Jim? Was that it?
Oh, yeah, that was the only comment I had, John.
I was there the other day. The picture I have in my mind is there is a ditch right at the bottom of that bank. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Is that ditch gonna stay there, or?
Ditch will be filled in.
That's gonna be filled in, so there'll probably be some planting there anyway.
There's no plan for any planting on any of the banks or anything else. It's just gonna be like Amy said, and it's gonna get fluffed
Yeah.
and
Oh, they,
Has to go to the
they're just
microphone.
gonna wait for
Gotta go to the
whatever.
microphone if you're gonna talk.
we're gonna take all the trees
Yeah,
down.
John, can you come up and speak into a microphone, so?
The plan was for the trust, excuse me, John Sennett, Harwich Court. They are gonna flatten the whole thing out, okay? They're gonna level everything, they're gonna fill in all the ditches, and they're gonna be a slope at each. They're not gonna go on the bank, they don't own the bank. They own the inside of the ditch. That's what they own.
Oh,
So they can work from the bog to the edge. That's what they're gonna do. That's exactly what they're gonna do. Instead of mowing or doing anything, they're gonna take all those trees and they're gonna put them all in the ditches and they're gonna bury them.
yeah, okay.
Everything is gonna stay. There's nothing coming off the bog, there's nothing coming out or nothing coming in. Whatever they have for material to work with, that's what they'll do. That's the exact plan. That comes from the trust and from Sumco. So that is and there's a nest out there for the osprey, so.
Right.
And
Other
that's
than
gonna
that,
be happening very, soon.
So,
well, they've been telling me that for 6 months, so we're working on it.
so the right-of-way that's being referred to
I-
is from the edge of the existing ditch to the property line?
Yes.
I see.
I don't have a lot of them, but that's the picture, and that's the property line. I got one more here. Amy, you want one?
I'll take one for the file, thank you.
Well, you can keep it because. it's
Thank you.
property, so- Yeah, right there. But that's the property line, and that's the easement that goes around there, yes, that is my easement, that's not the trust easement. They own, like I said, inside
Understood.
of what's there.
Sure.
So, do you care to comment on the suggestions that have been made about planting on?
There might still need to be access around it, I can't tell you that for sure, John, I mean,
He doesn't own the bog anymore.
I stay on my side, I mean, everybody, I don't wanna plant anything on my
So
property.
that sounds like a no, you
Well, I just don't think it's fair to do, because we don't know what's gonna happen for sure.
Yeah, okay, all right. That's important information.
I would make one comment. That so-called easement is the historic maintenance road around the bog. And if anybody's ever gonna have to work in there, they're probably gonna wanna go around that way. So whether you wanna put plants in the middle of it or not, it's kind of might create a future problem for someone.
Well, if it's gonna be bisected from the resource anyway, then that's up purview of the commission if you approve of the plan as presented, or if you wanna see any augmentation.
Thank you, John. Do we have any further comments or questions here? I guess the question is whether we want to request planting along the back property line.
Happy to do it.
anyone care to make a motion?
Do we want to discuss the planting along the property line to see?
We
what-
can, I'm waiting to hear.
Because, I mean, I think it would be a good idea to request that. The question would then be, you know, do we continue this hearing until we see a plan that shows that? Or do we allow Amy to sort of review a revised plan and go ahead with an approval?
I'd prefer the second one to make it easier for.
I have a
sounds like-
suggestion, while we're talking here tonight, on how we
Real
could
time.
do it.
Let's do it.
If the commission saw fit. So I would leave this here, this triangle, and whatever square footage is here, allocate it along the length.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to look at the plantings, and we
Great.
could chat about it.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable doing with it, or working with them. They've worked with us all along on it, so.
Okay.
If the commission is amenable to that, is taking, roughly the 2/3 that are out closer to the road and
Shift that along.
shifting them along here, maybe changing plant types to something
Perfect.
a little bit less large.
Sure.
But this area is good.
And I would be amenable with that.
Is that all right with
Okay.
everybody?
Sounds fine.
Yep.
Okay.
So we would just need, we would need to do that within the next week or so.
No
That way, I can draft the conditions, should this be approved tonight, and have that out to you, so,
Great.
okay?
Cool. We can draft it fast.
Okay. Okay, then, with that, if there's no further discussion, I'm prepared to proceed with the motion. And I would move that we approve the notice of intent for 141 Bank Street, map 23, parcel R5, with the condition that a revised mitigation plan be developed and approved by our conservation agent.
Great. Sorry, did we ask for public comment?
No, we just called up John. We did not.
Good catch.
Good catch. Is there any further? Well, wait a minute. We've got a motion on the floor. We don't have a second.
Withdraw. You can withdraw
Can
his
you
motion.
withdraw your motion?
I would be happy to withdraw my motion at this time.
Is there any further public comment? Hearing none.
Hearing none, I will proceed with a motion to approve the notice of intent for 141 Bank Street, map 23, parcel R5, under the condition that a revised mitigation plan be developed and approved by our conservation agent.
Awesome.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
4-0.
Very much.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Very exciting. I'm thinking some blueberries.
Yeah, just might need to do a
High bush blueberries?
little bunny protection from with those, yes. Yeah, high bush. We will.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a request for an extension permit for 4 Braddock Street, map 7, parcel F17, SE 32-24514 for beach maintenance.
I don't believe anybody's present at the moment. Can we maybe take a few other things and see if they show?
Okay, have you heard affirmatively that?
Yep,
they-
I let them know just yesterday that, reminded them that their meeting was tonight.
Okay. Sure, we can put that off and move to the next item on the agenda, which is a request for a certificate of compliance for 9 Herring Run Road, map 36, parcel L11, for an addition, a septic system, and planting.
We reviewed the project. The work has been done, the plantings installed. We would recommend a certificate of compliance.
Any discussion? Any questions, comments?
No.
Okay. I'll move that we approve the certificate of
Do we
compliance.
need to see if there's any public?
There's nobody there.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess we don't. Okay.
I just was starting a motion. I will just make the motion that we approve the certificate of compliance for 9 Herring Run Road, map 36, parcel L11 for the addition, septic system, and planting.
I'll second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0. Next, we have an order of conditions for 3 Hiawatha Road, map 6, parcel G1-1, for replacing a rock revetment. I haven't actually, is the order of conditions here? I'm afraid I didn't even. I'm requesting a minute to review it.
I can read through the special conditions if you like.
That would be good, yes, thank
Sure.
you.
Our typical ones regarding notification, limit of work, site cleanliness. Then once the old house is demoed, it shall be removed immediately from the site. There's no stockpiling of demolition debris. All roof runoff go into gutters, downspouts, and dry wells, or a French drain of native stone at least 3/4 inch diameter around the drip line of the house. House shall conform to Mass Building Code, FEMA regulations, and any town of Harwich building regulations regarding rebuilding in a VE flood zone. The bottom section of coastal access stairs shall be removed in the off-season by December 1 annually so as to reduce risk of damage to property by winter storms. Should be no fertilizers, even organic, herbicides, or pesticides used on this lot. This condition shall remain in perpetuity and not be released by a certificate of compliance. 10, any grass area within the 100-foot buffer or flood zone shall be composed of a native grass seed mix approved by the Conservation Administrator. No turf or sod is allowed, unless it is a native sod approved by myself in writing. This condition shall remain in perpetuity and not released by a certificate of compliance. There's some really good native sod products that are starting to come out right now, which in extremely exposed areas right on the top of the coast, it tends to take better than seed, so that's why I put that in there. If any company other than Blue Flax Design is to carry out the planting and land management plans, they need to be approved by the Conservation Administrator and demonstrate that they are capable of carrying out such a plan. If any spa water is to be removed, it shall be trucked off-site and disposed of properly outside any resource area or buffer. The patio shall be pervious, no hardening or stone dust to be used. The patio may be impervious if the roof runoff is directed to a drain leading to a dry well. The land management plan and planting plan shall start no later than the same or next growing season as the house is finished. If possible, to start some of it during the construction process, that would be preferable. Monitoring reports shall be submitted annually for 3 years, starting the year the plants have been installed by December 1st of that year. The report shall include status of the planting effort, survivability, if anything is to be swapped out, including photos and next steps. 16, plants within the 100-foot buffer zone are to achieve a 90% survival rate after at least 2 years prior to requesting a certificate of compliance. No mulch is to be used in the mitigation planting areas. No pruning of the mitigation plantings for view is permitted without a permit. Any foundation plantings that may be in the 50-foot no disturb zone are to be native. And a certified as-built site plan stamped by an engineer and/or surveyor shall be provided to the Conservation Commission upon completion of construction.
Okay. Questions or comments?
No questions.
Okay.
Okay, hearing no questions or comments, I will make a motion that we close the public hearing and authorize the issuing of the order of conditions for 3 Hiawatha Road, map 6, parcel G1-1.
I'll second the motion. I was waiting. Okay, further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Well, we have a few things left aside from Braddock Street. We can discuss minutes. I have one comment on the minutes, which is negligible, but I'll bring it up anyway, which is Mr. Coleman's name was spelled with an S at the end, somewhere in here. Other than that, I don't have any problem with the minutes.
I had no comments, none.
No comment.
Okay. I'll accept a motion.
Okay, I'll move that we approve the minutes of our meeting of April 3rd, 2024.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I can give you an update on Bonnie Lane if you wish.
Sure, yeah.
So I thought that they had wanted to come in front of you with the plan that they've most recently given me. And they want to talk with me about the language and stuff first. So they're almost ready. They're planning on coming to your May 15th meeting. So I just preemptively put it on an agenda. So we don't need to take any action. It'll be coming May 15th.
Okay.
Should we we don't have to move to continue the extension because it's not a public hearing, but I'll put it on my next meeting, the extension for 4 Braddock.
Yes,
Okay.
please. I mean, were they expecting us just to approve it at this meeting?
No,
Pat?
no. They
No.
asked if they should come and I said yes,
Okay.
because I don't have a positive recommendation for you.
So we need to. give them a
We're
ch-
missing some information that we think we need to have, so.
Okay, well, maybe they'll produce the required information.
I'm
prior to the
hoping
next
so.
meeting. Let's hope. Okay, so the last item then is the land management plan.
So at the end of the day, I provided today, so it's fresh off the presses, sorry. You had mentioned at the last meeting that you really were most interested in having group discussion before we have public meeting, or hearing on this about the management goals. So I tried to update all of that with what we've done since our last, since the plan originated in 2012, and then added future goals to that. So, say the first 2/3 of the document that I put on your table over there is all old stuff, and then the updates to it, and then kind of newest is under future goals on the, towards the end. What I did there is I broke it into 2 categories. Category 1, activities that can be accomplished with little staff time, little to no money, and no permitting. And Category 2 for activities that would take more staff time, more money, and permitting. That way, hopefully, we can, you can start to direct where we should be doing things. And again, I know this came at the very end of today, so I don't expect you to have absorbed it. but I wanted to get you something. I also provided on your desk tonight a copy of the plan that shows the bog areas that were alluded to, as well as Brad's document from 2020 of bog recommendations, where we kind of talked about how we get to the option that we're currently doing.
Okay, so we all need to review this and hopefully have one more full conversation about this stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully, let's see, before we vote on this, we need to have a public hearing, right?
Correct.
So,
You could vote at the end of the public hearing. So basically, what I'm curious on getting your input in is particularly the future goals, and prioritize, and how you'd like to see them potentially prioritized. If I missed something, if you want me to take out something, things like that.
Amy, did you see the draft that I sent you on April 1st?
I'm not sure.
John reviewed it. So we took what you sent us earlier,
Okay,
and then I reviewed it and had comments, and then John reviewed it, had comments. No one else responded. It almost seems like what you've given us today, it's kind of disconnected from that.
'cause I thought at one of the last meetings, you had said, kind of, don't worry right now for like the small details about the appendices, and this is supposed to be part of it, this is the last two sections.
Right.
That, at the last meeting, you had said you wanted to have the real discussion about the management actions.
Yeah. Did you use any of what we sent you? It doesn't seem like you did.
I don't know if I saw it, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I will look, April 1st, you said?
Yeah. So I think I'm just gonna have to really, I felt like what I sent you was really tight. It's just a question of whether we shuffle the deck with the management goals. So I'm just gonna have to spend some time on this.
That's fine, and I would say maybe don't spend a whole lot of time on it then, considering, I wasn't looking at that when I was doing my review. So let me look at that.
Yeah, how do we bring them together? Because I feel like the document that was sent on April 1st was where we were at that point in time. And, do you recall what I'm talking about, John?
yeah, I recall, I'm just looking for my copy of all of that, which which will take me a moment. I'd like to just,
And this document, it's not separate from that other main document, this is just the last two sections of it
Right,
focused on,
but it's
so,
very different from
okay,
what I sent on April 1st.
okay.
I'm just checking to see if you received that. Did you get?
I'll have to check.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
If I did and I missed it, I apologize.
yeah.
April, well, you sent yours on April 1st.
And you reviewed it. I've got a file where your initials are on it, that you review what I sent,
Right,
and then that should have gone to all the commissioners.
I don't think it ever did, I'm
Yeah.
not sure it ever did. So, this is, March 29th is when you sent the email the document that I looked at, and then I reviewed it on March 31st.
Was I on that email?
You were on.
Okay,
I sent back a thing with more revisions. I mean, most of them were minor and like copy editing more than anything else. And then you replied to that, just acknowledging to include the water management plan. So that's the last time I
Okay.
looked at this. I'm just looking at, oh yeah. This is where all these updates are. And these changes, right, are changes is that?
No, I'm sorry, I don't mean to belabor this any longer than it already has been.
But, right, I see how,
I'm guessing everything's there that we care about, that we've talked about for years. I just think it's, but I've got to, this is, what you gave us today is different. It's just a whole different format, so I just have to go back and see if,
Well, we can, if it's mostly format and not so much content, I will say, I did come up, we talked a little bit at the last meeting about, some things are gonna cost money and they're gonna take time. So I thought it would be a good idea to kind of break out the tasks, between things that aren't gonna be a time sink, a lot of money, permitting, and and things that would be. So, but hopefully it's not completely different. And I can certainly look at it and try to marry the two, so.
yeah,
I could have had an email issue, I could have just missed it.
yeah, the management plan isn't here. And that was a, one pager
oh, you sent that separate.
separately. Yeah, I sent that separately. And, that was something the commission voted on, maybe 3 years ago. So that's kind of the approach of record for what to do for managing that bog.
Right,
And, that somehow got lost in the translation, or maybe you lost the email, I don't know.
and I had said that we chose whatever option it was.
No, but there was actually a management plan saying, here's what you do. Here's how you manage it.
That's this one, the document from 2020, the management options.
No, we voted on number 2, but then we actually produced, well, the second part of option 2 became the management plan, those bullets. Bog site objectives, water flow management, bog perimeter, that became, and so that's what I'm looking for. I don't think that made it.
No, and I don't know if I still have that. If you could, if you have that, that would be great.
Yeah, I can assemble the emails I sent and I can resend
Thank you,
them.
I'm really sorry.
No, I mean, Amy, you're working on this with a lot of other things on your plate, and I think it's all there. I just gotta make sure it's what we discussed and what, so what do you think? Can we wrap this up? I mean, we probably should schedule a public hearing, right? I mean, that's probably,
We can shoot for one. I mean, I do think, it's good to have something to shoot for.
So, I think that's a good idea. I think that what needs to be done here, because there's been sort of a divergence on this last part, is the changes you made and what you've written here have to be merged.
Let me put 2 and 2 together. We can work on it together if you need to. I don't want to give you more, but,
I think it's all there. I
Okay.
really do, and, I think just, me going over what you produced here and
Okay.
making sure it's connected to what, the commission has talked about all along. And then I think you schedule the public hearing and we just tell all the commissioners, okay, it's time to review, and any final comments?
so I think what we can do, why don't we schedule it for the second meeting in May? Right now,
Go ahead. You finish and then.
Our
Jim can talk.
agendas are trending light. Why don't we schedule it for that? And then we could always do it, or if you wanted to do it separately, we could, but we could schedule it for that. And then by the next meeting, because I think we only had one new application come in,
Wow.
I should be able to marry these two documents together with you, Brad. So we,
I think hour and a half,
yeah.
you know, with a strong cup of coffee, just, you know, make it happen.
Yeah, my only concern is I do not think it's a good idea to actually schedule the public hearing until we have one total document that includes everything that's going to be part of it, and we've all had at least a chance to take a look at it to make sure that we're sort of all in agreement that this is what we want to go forward with.
Yeah. So I disagree with you, and the reason is we've had so many hearings where you've had an opportunity, everyone's had an opportunity to talk about this, and
But we,
we're not hearing comments.
So,
Mr. Chairman?
yes, sir.
Well, my feeling is we still have this document, we have what was given to us by Amy. There is, Brad has said that there is stuff that has been emailed that Amy, you know, either hasn't seen or somehow got lost. I don't feel that it's appropriate to schedule a public hearing until we have one document that we all have a chance to look at, and that there's a consensus that that's what we need to move forward on.
So Amy, how much time, how far in advance do we need to schedule a public hearing?
I really only need about 2 weeks, because we have to put it in we put it in the paper.
Well, I think we should pencil in,
We can certainly shoot for it and pencil it in.
but then, I mean, Jim is right. It wouldn't be appropriate to have the public hearing
Mm-hmm.
before the commission has had time to digest an integrated document and talk about it. I mean,
It's fine.
this has been going on for a long time,
See,
and we need to wrap it up.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. So,
I think the
I-
elements, sorry, go ahead.
well, I think that basically you and Amy need to get together and spend the hour and a half to integrate those things, and I'll leave it up to you how that's gonna happen. But it should happen like within days from now. And so that a document can go to the full commission sufficiently far in advance that we can reasonably expect everybody to have a chance to review it. And that's further ahead than the day before the meeting where we're gonna have the conversation. So the timing is tight. And if we can't make that happen for the next meeting, then we will have to push it out another meeting. 'Cause
Yeah,
I don't think it's fair to just send the thing. I mean, and I get your point, but in order to get complete agreement, we need to allow a little time for the wheels to turn. I just don't see how.
I'm really disappointed in this, the whole concept. I think there's been so many opportunities, and you and myself, John, are the only ones that are commenting for 3 years now. Actually, Mark had a couple of comments. So, I don't know, I think a month out is reasonable to schedule a public hearing for this, and then,
I'm not arguing with that, but some things have to happen before we do that. They just have to. I mean, we can't just go into the next meeting in a state like we are now and get the full commission to agree to have a public hearing the following. I'm not willing to proceed in that manner. So just, it's not gonna be right, and it potentially, there would be unhappy people, and I really want, we should have full agreement and full engagement even if it's only minority of the commission that's actually spending a lot of time and making suggestions.
Can I ask, Jim, how come you have not had comments to date on the many drafts that have been before the commission?
I don't think that's a fair question, Brad, and I'm not going to answer it.
Really?
Yes, I don't.
Okay, all
That's
right.
not the issue that's on the table right now.
I don't know why we can't discuss it. You know, I'm perplexed why this is taking so long and that we're not getting comments on many drafts. I don't know what's going on. If you don't want to answer, obviously you don't have to.
No, I'm not going to answer that question, Brad, because I don't think that's a fair question. The question here on the table is the procedure by which we approve a document. We have not seen a totality of a document. We have a few different things today. You have raised issues about things that you have said to Amy that are not reflected in what we see today. Even once we get a document that the commission in totality agrees to move forward with, that document has to be a public document before the public hearing, so that if anybody in the public wants to take a look at it, in order to make comments at the public hearing, they have the opportunity to do that. So we have to have a document prepared to present to anybody in the public who wants to review it.
Agreed. And I would think that we would have that in time for a month from now for a public hearing.
And if we do, that's fine. I'm just saying that we should not schedule a public hearing until we know we have that document, we've had a chance to take a look at it, and we agree as a group that that's what we want to move forward with.
Okay, so I still think the way I want to proceed is pencil in second meeting in May and hope that we have an integrated document sufficiently before the next meeting so that people can have it in their inboxes and have a chance to review it. I think, I don't think there's anything to vote on here.
No.
So,
I would make a motion if I thought I'd win it, but I don't think I will, so.
And I have time to, if anybody wanted to get together next week, I do have some time in my schedule next week to do it. We could do it, separately and then come together.
we are where we are, Brad, and,
I know.
So I get your frustration, but we just have to proceed deliberately here as
I
far as I'm
understand.
concerned. And
The commission voted November of 2019 to update this plan. That's a fair amount of time. I'm just trying to think the best way to do this. I'd like to see a document before the commission with our next meeting to review
It will.
and go from there.
so, but the work at hand is integrating specifically what Amy did here with your comments in there. I mean, that's the hurdle here. So, I haven't, none of us have had a chance to look at these. I don't know what the difference is. And I think there's a bit of work involved in just making decisions and/or redrafting some of these things.
Right.
I would be happy to participate in an editing session if that works for you guys.
Maybe next Friday? That's-
Yeah.
That's all I could think about.
Can certainly start ahead of time, but yes.
Probably not available next Friday. Well, I gotta look at.
Sections 1 through 4 have received almost no comments with recent drafts. So those sections are tight, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I made some minor edits.
Yeah.
It's pretty minor.
Friday, oh boy. I don't actually, I might be able to do it Friday morning. But I don't know that the two of you need me there. I would be happy to participate and try to help with language and drafting and stuff.
All right. I'm gonna try to take look at it ahead of time,
That's what has to happen.
and
Yeah, sure, yeah.
we can come,
I-
but why don't we, if we can set a time, if we can get together Friday morning
Yeah.
with,
The question is, do you and I have time to look at it before Friday? That's the trouble. So I think we just. you know
yes,
what,
I will.
I'll just make time. I
If-
mean,
if
that's
I-
some- over the weekend, I'll just look at, it
Or-
really is,
Exactly, weekends or overnight, whatever.
it's not that many pages.
Need to get it just finished.
And when I scan this, I see that there's just so much commonality.
Yeah.
It's really, what can we talk about tonight, since we're here and it's early? I think I put in 3 bullets in the draft I sent last, and one was on the use of herbicides, and we did discuss that last time. I thought we were good with that. And then we discussed,
So I have your draft here.
And I do talk about herbicides in what I sent.
yeah, that was easy. The second bullet that I asked for some commission discussion on was really, do we move ahead with some of these ADA concepts now?
Right.
Or do they wait for like a full rehabilitation of that berm, fishway?
Yep, and that's in there.
And so that, okay,
It's in more section 6, which is the last, 2 to 3 pages of that document.
yeah,
Nice.
see, I really just had 3 bullets to discuss, and otherwise it was just like,
Yeah.
I thought we were so close to just wrapping this up.
I think we are. I think we may have just had different ways of formatting it.
Okay, the last bullet says, how to prioritize.
Yes. Yep.
And so I think you went ahead and did that.
I didn't, so that's what I wanted to have discussion about tonight mostly, is I put the management actions together, which is, so on the second to the last page where it says future goals, on the document that I sent, it's the second or third to the last page, because it's double-sided, so third to the last page online. I separated them into categories, again, for things that are cheap and easy to do, and then category 2 for more involved. And I did not prioritize them. The numbering is just to keep them separate. I did not, those don't mean priority. Specifically, so category 1, to me, it almost doesn't really need to be prioritized too much, because it's low-hanging fruit. It's low input, low money, can be done whenever. Category 2 are things that we need potentially to rank, because these are things that are gonna be very more time-consuming, monetarily, more difficult, and permitting. They're gonna require permitting.
Yeah.
So the items in category 2 of section 6 is what I would, not necessarily tonight, but love for people to really look at and
Yeah.
think about what you deem is important for the area.
Yep. For example, the number 1 priority that I had in that April 1st document was to reconstruct West Reservoir Dam and Fishway. And that didn't make it to your list at all. It's not there. So I don't know what happened to that. I
I
think,
guess I didn't put it in because it's not known yet whether it needs to be done, and is it an imminent need?
yeah, I would say that it is. I think there's a partnership developing to work towards that. And I think it's connected to all these concepts about parking and ADA access.
Well, we can add that.
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah, I have to look at what you did. You probably should find what I sent you.
I will.
And then, I guess we have to discuss how the commission feels about all these things.
Yeah, I don't see why you wouldn't add the fish ladder,
It's fine, I'll put it in.
because these are prospective things anyway.
Yep.
And
All right, well then, I'll spend some time this weekend. I mean, is there anything people want to talk about tonight? Jim, anything you want to talk about?
No.
No?
I don't have anything more to say.
I don't either.
This- I don't know.
I have a couple of announcements prior to the end of finishing the meeting, if we're
Okay.
done talking about this piece.
We lost a commission member there.
All right, well, wait a minute.
I did send an email to you two on potential new.
I saw that
new
one.
business. Is that something we
Oh.
should talk about as new business?
Well, I have not had a chance to go to the cemetery yet.
Yeah,
I will,
okay.
and we'll address it if we need to. Fortunately, at least it's across the street, so it's not a direct, connection, but it could be a buffer zone.
Right.
So I can look at that. What was the other one? Remind
It
me.
was the, having a herring festival at Bell's Neck.
Oh, okay.
West Reservoir. It's, the property under the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, so I thought there should be a discussion at some point
Mm-hmm.
on how the commissioners feel about that. Any concerns, any, interest on how it goes, participation. Does the commission want to participate in this event?
Mm-hmm. Do we
So-
know what date it is gonna be?
No, I did ask the Board of Selectmen that, and I haven't heard back when the
Yeah.
date would be, but I think, the commission should be plugged into it. And
Yeah.
so, I think having some discussion on new business would be a good idea. Going back to the cemetery thing, just briefly, so I got a call on that.
Mm-hmm,
Mount Pleasant Cemetery,
mm-hmm.
and I did go out to take a look at it. It's not at all clear to me whether there's a resource area right there.
So I looked at the state map. How did I find that? I guess I was looking at.
Mass mapper?
Yeah, but it's a different mapping tool that was linked to in something else I was reading, I don't remember what, that shows specific resource areas. Maybe it is Mass Mapper, but with those, I have trouble finding those things in Mass
The
Mapper.
layers,
But
yeah.
anyway, it showed the edge of, it labeled that, the swamp across the street as a shrub swamp, and it showed the edge of the swamp near the cemetery as bordering the eastern side of, is it South Street? So it's whatever the distance is, the closest distance from the east side of the street to the cemetery, and it looked to me like any I don't know what's happening over there, but any building there is just, there's a building on the eastern end of that,
Right.
and that's just at 100 feet, or that was just me just using
Across the street
from across the street where the state is labeling as the edge of that wetland.
It's the edge of Grassy Pond,
Right,
yep.
the
And,
wetland around it, yeah.
right.
Right.
So, yeah, to me, that's separated, but what was told to me was that there was former wetlands there. And they're building more plots, that's what they're doing, more places to put people.
Oh, my.
And, but it
Former
didn't look that wet to me. So I just
Yeah.
was curious if they had come before you for
They
consultation.
have not,
Yeah,
they have not. I mean, it's certainly, I could go take a sediment sample, probe it to see what the soils look like too,
you would know. And
so,
but
yeah,
the street is definitely separating the site from the main resource area.
yes, yeah.
And, but either way, a citizen called, and so I just
No,
wanted to
thank you.
pass that on.
Mm-hmm.
The second item was on, the Board of Selectmen voted to have a herring festival or herring celebration at the Bell's Neck Reservoir. And so I just wanted the commission to talk about it because it is
Mm-hmm.
under our care and custody, and to see if people thought it was a good idea, if people had an idea on things that should happen. And then should there be some formal participation? You know, we would hope the Conservation Department would, you know, want to participate and,
I would, it depends on the date,
right?
you know, so,
What?
it's public land, so, and it's state authorized, so we don't, it's not
Yeah.
like the commission has to vote to allow this, on their property. It's in the waters, which are Commonwealth waters, and, the town wants to have a fair herring harvest day. So, yeah, I'd be interested to know when it's gonna be, and can assist if possible.
Yeah, things like parking, you know, I would think you probably want to put a little, a gate, not a gate, or just, you know, just block people from driving in, because there won't be enough space.
Yeah.
So maybe ask people to park in the lower area and then walk in.
Yeah.
But there probably should be direction from the commission on how that goes, because I think, you know, you can put 10 cars at the Fishway, and that's gonna be plenty. We had a celebration, remember that, Amy, maybe 6, 7 years ago? It was real simple.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember how it came to be, but we set
It
up.
was small. It was really a little educational
Yeah, maybe Earth
information.
Week.
Yep,
We set up a
Yeah.
table, and the public came in, and they walked up, and it was, you know, kids got to see the fish and talk about the fish, and so it was really kind of a nice event.
Mhm.
This would be very similar, I think.
I have a feeling it would be a little more popular, if you're gonna be, you know, allowing take of fish.
Well, they're not. What they voted on was to have a one-day celebration, and they would take some fish and cook them, and then allow
Okay.
people to try them out.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they were gonna.
They're not doing harvest.
No, they're not. They
Even a
decided.
one, for some reason I thought it was a one-day harvest supervised, but no.
Yeah, no, they felt it was too much to get it all together for this year, so
Okay,
they said, let's have an event.
all right,
Pembroke is doing something in a couple weeks, same thing. Division of Marine Fisheries is giving them a permit for 75 fish.
Yep.
They're gonna cook them and then serve them different ways to people.
okay,
Here, the town doesn't need a permit. They're authorized to have a harvest.
right.
So the town can just choose to take a few fish, and I think that's what's gonna happen. You know, the Conservation Commission could have a booth or have a table and talk about the management plan, you know, something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
If they wanted to. You would have to probably post that. But, those,
If we had a quorum, yeah, if we just had the information out there and handing out information and we didn't have a quorum, that's fine.
yeah,
As far as discussion, that would be a slippery slope I wouldn't wanna go down.
Which meeting was this discussed at and voted on? Was it just the last meeting? They
No,
missed
it
this week.
it was a while ago. It was,
It was wild.
there was a January discussion, I think, on having a harvest this year. The feeling was there wasn't enough time to make it happen.
Yeah,
And then there was a second meeting 6 weeks ago.
yeah, it was a little over a month ago.
And that was to vote to say, yes, let's have a one-day celebration.
But
And,
without a date,
When is the next big push, would you say, in May? Or when, I mean, because now, I mean, it's not like a week out, but when would be the next wave, do you think?
That's a hard thing to predict. Yeah, there was a big wave this week. and,
Right, so the next moon?
I don't know if a second species come in, blueback herring.
Yeah,
So the alewife are coming right now, the blueback, when they come in, there'll be a second push. So I mentioned to the Board of Selectmen that the first weekend in May wouldn't be bad, but I haven't heard back yet.
because, yeah, I would admit, you'd want to do it when you're pretty much guaranteed to see some fish,
Right.
you know?
And if you wait till third week in May, you're starting to come towards where it's gonna slow down.
So if we did, yeah, so if we have a date, then we can shoot for it. If it's the first weekend in May, it's potentially after we have a draft document ready. Because our next meeting is May 1st for here, which is a Wednesday.
Yeah.
So it might work out,
All right.
but yeah, just,
Any interest among commissioners to participate or to,
yeah, sure.
get
Sure.
involved?
Yeah.
All right. I pictured your department, Amy, Department of Natural Resources, Conservation Commission.
Yep.
um,
yours, obviously.
Yeah, yep. And my staff's available to come around
Maybe,
and help.
what about Abigail over at the
Yeah, invite the county.
Cooperative Extension?
Yeah, invite the county to come around, and Just, that's the idea, is that the town has been granted authority to have a harvest, which is kind of unique. It took a long time to make that happen, and so the town is looking at having a harvest next year. So let's celebrate the herring run and educate people to what that means, because people kind of forget what it was like. But I do think that, the Conservation Commission should be connected, because it's property that we manage.
Yep. Makes sense.
Okay.
All right, well, I'll get the word, I hopefully hear back, because it's gotta be planned, it's gotta be advertised.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that we'd need help with we might need a detail or something like that, somebody to help with parking,
Yep.
so.
Last time I think we had Ron just telling people to park here. That's how it went. And I thought it went pretty well last time, but it could generate, a lot more people.
Yeah, I think
Given-
it could,
There's way more people coming there anyways now than 5 or 6 years ago.
yeah.
Who's gonna be cooking and stuff, is that?
I'm gonna be preparing a batch myself. We're gonna look for some folks that have old-time recipes, and so.
Oh, that's
do you
right,
have any ideas?
I gotta ask my
I could
uncle.
ask my father-in-law, I don't, but.
It,
I gotta ask my uncle.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna brine and smoke a batch. We did it in Pembroke a couple of years ago, and they had like 15 different dishes. It was pretty, they had the Wampanoags come by, they cooked a few different ways. And it was really pretty impressive how some of them were really good.
Well, if you want want me to reach out to the Wampanoags, once we have a date, let me know.
Yeah, I've talked to them already, or at
Okay.
least I've talked to a couple that I know.
Mhm.
And it's hard to say whether they'll participate or not. I think you'd want to encourage them to say they're welcome.
Right.
Yeah,
Definitely invite them.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, I think it could be fun.
I have an event to announce. Well, two actually. There's one this weekend. It's over at the 204, and actually both are at the 204. It's an Earth Day event. It's not, my department is not taking part in this one, but there's a whole lot of Earth Day-esque activities and speakers this Saturday at the 204. And then next Saturday is the first annual Harwich Health and Environment Festival. And it's gonna be, it starts with the Tour de Trash community cleanup at 10 a.m. If people wanna participate in that for an hour or two, you can go to the Harwich Conservation Trust website where the QR code to sign up for specific routes is. And then that's gonna transition into a whole health and environment fair where we have roughly 40 different government, nonprofit entities coming from anything from the VNA of Cape Cod, the Barnstable County Nurse, God, what else? A lot of food, what do I want to say? Food availability type programs. Then we have we have a lot of stuff for kids. We have food trucks. Then we have more environmental organizations such as Division of Marine Fisheries, APCC, Atlantic White Shark Conservancy, a whole bunch of others coming. So we're hoping to attract a wide audience of folks to this event. It's like, where can you get your blood pressure taken, get a free jump rope, a free bike helmet, and a free tree for Arbor Day? Will be at this event. So the Arbor Day giveaway, I was able to scrounge some funds together to be able to do a giveaway again this year. We're giving away shagbark hickory, witch hazel, and false indigo. And a whole bunch of veggie and wildflower seeds as well. So it's gonna be, that main event is 11 to 3. I posted it kind of all over Kingdom Come today on social media. And yeah, we could use a few extra hands if anybody wants to help out, but should be a really good day.
How about the coverage? All the tables full, or?
We've essentially been given like pretty much the whole space if we need it, so we have plenty of room.
Yep.
But we're taking up a lot of room.
Do you need me to show up like an hour early to help people move stuff or something like that?
So you're gonna come for 11, right?
Yep, I'll be there, I'll set up a table.
it wouldn't hurt to come by like 10:30,
Okay.
or 10 to set up your stuff, and if, I'm sure an extra hand would be welcome
Yeah, okay.
or something.
I'll come a little bit early and just see what happens.
I'm happy to help if you need a hand with whatever.
You can help give away planties if you want.
Sure.
Okay.
What social media did you share it on, or like where can I find it to share it?
I can send it to you, but I shared it on Jamie helps share it on the Harwich pages, the town-run Facebook pages, as well as I did post to Harwich Cape Cod Facebook page, Old Timers, I Love Harwich.
What about Instagram? Anything?
I have not posted to Instagram yet. So,
I'm happy to.
all right, well, okay, let's get it out. I'll be in touch about the planties.
You good with all that stuff?
With what?
Posting things? and-
I'm trying, finally have a business Instagram page now, so I'm trying to get,
Trying to
into
figure it
it.
out.
So,
Yeah.
do you keep your Instagram usage down to a couple hours a day?
I'm not involved, but I'm just seeing, it's the currency
Can't
that
avoid it.
people use to get the word out.
it really
It's
is.
to get the word out, yep.
And a lot of people don't do Facebook, and they do it, like, I do Instagram a lot more, I don't
Yeah.
really,
That's
whatever.
what younger folks, I'm seeing my kids, that's what they're locked in on that.
Yeah.
And it's, people are really savvy about getting the word out that way.
Yeah.
So we'll have to use it if we have a herring festival.
Only source of news sometimes.
I know.
Scary.
That sounds
We
like
strive
fun.
to
Amy.
get the
Thanks-
right
thanks-
news out.
Thanks for your involvement, encouraging me to get involved. It should be
It's gonna be a
pretty
good
cool-
time.
Yeah.
A lot of really good entities, but again, this weekend is an equally good event with some slightly different things. In next year, so we found out about, there's two, health and conservation for town doing it, and then there's this other, I think Harwich Climate Action Network maybe, doing the other one, and we just didn't know that each other were planning very similar events. And by the time we found out, we had already kind of set our dates and already had exhibitors, so next year, we hope to combine.
Yeah.
They've already been chatting.
And it's independent of Earth Day, right? It's like a
It is,
pre-
but it's all during this whole
Spring,
time.
yeah.
It's like Earth Day, Arbor Day,
Yeah.
it's all during
Yeah.
environmental month, essentially.
Nice.
Yeah, this weekend is for Earth Day.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Okay, anything else?
I think so.
So, I would entertain a motion.
I'll move that we adjourn.
Oh, come on,
Thank you, Jim. Second.
She's never made one.
go ahead.
Yeah.
No, I interrupted you, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
that's
apologize.
perfectly all right, Jack. I'll move that we adjourn the meeting.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, 8 o'clock.
So we said it right there.